What does a big man like me have to do with it? Na raised an eyebrow, said nothing more, and turned to go out and help. I sat in the private room for a long time and only got up to go out when there was no more noise outside. As soon as I reached outside the room, I saw Mary tightly holding onto a man's arm. It was her first love, Tom, the one she had never been able to let go of. Tom was heavily drunk, leaning limply against her. Instead of pushing him away, Mary held him even tighter. There was a hint of anger in her bright black eyes, along with a pain she herself was unaware of. Na saw this scene and leaned over, raising an eyebrow to ask me, "George, do you think there's a chance they might get back together?" Her voice was just loud enough for Mary to hear. Upon hearing this, Mary suddenly looked up at us. When she saw me standing not far away, a fleeting look of guilt flashed in her eyes, and she hurriedly explained, "I never thought about getting back together with him. He's drunk, and I'm just helping." I smiled and shook my head, saying, "Sister Mary, I understand. Brother Tom looks pretty drunk. You should take him home first." Mary seemed a bit dissatisfied with how I addressed her, slightly furrowing her brow, but still did not refuse my suggestion. As she left with Tom, she reminded Na, "You guys should head back early too. Don't hang around outside watching their departing figures." My heart ached as if pricked by needles, yet at the same time, I found it incredibly ironic and laughable. In my past life, I married Mary as I wished, but I did not find the happiness I sought. On my birthday, I simply hoped she would spend a simple day with me, but she impatiently said, "I'm too busy with work. Can you not be so annoying?" As a result, I turned around and saw photos of her and Tom enjoying their trip to the Colorado Grand Canyon on his social media. I suffered a severe gastric ulcer attack and was in great pain, wanting her to accompany me to the hospital for an examination, but she impatiently said, "I'm not a doctor. If you're in pain, go to the hospital yourself. Why are you looking for me?" Yet I saw her accompanying Tom to the hospital for a minor cold. Later, I meticulously prepared a surprise for our wedding anniversary, but on the way home, I was in a car accident. The doctor called her urgently, asking her to come to the hospital to sign for surgery, but she coldly replied, "Is he dead? If he's not dead, don't look for me." At that moment, Tom's excited voice came through the phone. "Mary, look, the aurora is so beautiful. This trip was totally worth it." The moment the call ended, my wounds bled profusely, quickly staining half of the hospital bed sheets red. Remembering the excruciating pain in my heart just before dying in my past life, I nearly gasped for breath. I pressed my hand against my subtly aching heart and smiled bitterly. "Mary, since you see my love as just a burden, then I will no longer love you." That night, and I didn't linger and went home early. The next morning, when I woke up groggy and picked up my phone to check the time, I saw a message from Tom. He sent a photo of Mary sleeping at his place and said, "Mary stayed at my house with me yesterday." Seeing this message, I felt no stir in my heart and simply replied with an "Oh." He wasn't done yet. Shortly after, he sent another photo of breakfast, saying, "This is breakfast that Mary made for me by hand, and she even made cute heart-shaped fried eggs." When Mary was with me, she never stepped into the kitchen. She said she was a pampered little princess at home and didn't want to compromise while with me. So, to take care of her health, I specifically enrolled in cooking classes. As long as I was around, she could enjoy warm, tasty meals. But after learning that she did all this for Tom, I realized how ridiculous my past efforts were. After reading the message, I didn't reply, put down my phone, and continued eating breakfast. After a while, Mary suddenly messaged me. She didn't mention last night, but instead said, "The lotus root balls you made last time were quite delicious. Make them for me again today and wait for you at the office. Oh, and remember not to put cilantro." Seeing this message, my heart sank. Mary didn't have a habit of avoiding cilantro. In fact, she loved it and would even order a separate portion when having hot pot. I thought for a moment, replied with an "okay," and then decisively opened a food delivery app, randomly selected a home-style dish, and sent it to her office. In the evening, after finishing work, I went out to dinner with Na. As soon as we arrived at the reserve restaurant, we saw Mary and Tom walking in hand, beaming with smiles. Upon seeing us, Mary instinctively let go of Tom's arm and walked over. Tom's expression changed slightly as he stepped forward and said with a smile, "What a coincidence. But we arrived late, and there are no empty seats left. Do you mind if we share a table?" Before we could respond, Mary sat down right next to me. Nah, surprised, widened her eyes, and quickly stood up to switch places with her. "What are you doing? It's not appropriate for me to sit with your first love." Mary was pushed to sit across from me, her eyes showing dissatisfaction as if waiting for me to say something. I avoided her gaze and handed the menu to Tom. "Tom, you can order whatever you like. My sister and I have already decided." Tom smiled as he took the menu, pretending to be casual as he said, "George, your cooking is really delicious, much better than the restaurants." His words made me even more certain that the meals Mary wanted me to prepare were for Tom. I smiled and said nothing. Nah, with a mix of encouragement and teasing, said he was so determined to learn cooking a while ago. Being the only guy in the whole cooking class, I thought he would feel embarrassed, but he actually stuck with it. Now he can handle things outside and cook at home. His future girlfriend will be lucky. Mary's eyes, which had initially been smiling, gradually lost their warmth upon hearing this. He slowly took a sip of tea and asked lightly, "George, are you thinking about dating?" I looked at her in confusion, recalling what she had said that day in the private room, and nodded slightly. "I'm 26 this year. It's time for me to date. If you have someone suitable, Mary, please help introduce me." "You finally get it." Nina was even more excited than I was, happily saying, "I tried to introduce you to someone several times before, but you never agreed. Now that you want to date, I will definitely find you a really good girlfriend." After hearing Nina's words, Mary tightly pressed her lips together, staring at me intently, as if trying to read something from my face. I noticed her change in mood and said with a smile, "George is really lucky to have such a good sister helping him. I envy him, but I think Mary is pretty good too." "How about don't say that? George is my brother." Before Nina could speak, Mary interrupted her with a frown, her tone slightly reproachful, but her expression was helpless. I nodded in agreement and said to Tom, "Yeah, I've always regarded Mary as my own sister." "Tom, you shouldn't make jokes like that in the future. Besides, I think you and Mary are a better match." Mary's expression suddenly darkened, a flicker of anger flashing in her eyes as she coldly said, "Oh, really? Then let me introduce someone to you. Would you like to find a time to meet?" "Sure. Then thank you in advance, Mary," I replied readily, wearing a bright smile. In the following days, I didn't take the initiative to contact Mary, and she didn't reach out to me either. Instead, Tom came to see us. When he arrived, both Nina and I were at home. "So what brings you here?" Nina asked. Tom glanced at me somewhat awkwardly and said, "Nina, you know that Mary and I have been childhood friends, and we were each other's first love. Although we've had our ups and downs over the years, there are still feelings between us. It was my fault to argue with her and suggest breaking up before, but this time I want to confess my feelings to her and get back together. Can you help me?" If it weren't for my past experiences, I would have loudly told him that Mary liked me and would never agree to him, so he shouldn't waste his time. But having gone through those things, I knew clearly that Mary had always had feelings for him. They might actually be the best match for each other. Sure, this is not a small matter. We've all seen how things are between you and Mary. She clearly hasn't moved on from you. If you confess, you'll definitely succeed, Nina analyzed objectively. A proud smile appeared on Tom's face, and when he looked at me, his eyes were filled with determination. I didn't feel much about it and didn't take the matter to heart. 2 days later, Nina and Mary's sisters discussed how to set up the confession scene. They felt that a person's true feelings could be seen at critical moments, so they invited everyone to go to a rural farmhouse to watch the Iron Flower performance. When we arrived at the destination, there were a lot of people, and I didn't, like the crowd, I wanted to wait on the side, but Tom wouldn't let me off. As the crowd surged, he pulled me into the throng. Soon we squeezed into the front row and could see the performance clearly. Once the show started, sparks flew everywhere. Tom was close and got startled by the flying sparks, instinctively hiding next to Mary. Mary noticed he was genuinely scared, a smile appearing in her eyes as she linked her arm with his and teased. You know you're afraid of fire, yet you still want to get closer? Are you silly? It's because you're here. As long as you're with me, I'm not afraid of anything. Mary's gaze softened, and she held his hand tightly. This scene made me momentarily recall the time when I had just gotten married in my past life. Back then, I was full of longing for marriage, taking care of everything big and small at home, just wanting her to feel the warmth of home. Once, when she got drunk, I wanted to pick her up, but I heard her complain to Tom, I feel like I didn't marry a husband but found a dad to manage me, controlling everything I do. It's so annoying. You're better. You do everything just right, and you never make me feel irritated. Suddenly, a small dog dashed out from the side, and the people around screamed and hurriedly dodged, pulling me back from my memories. But it was too late. The dog ran up to me. I was about to pull Nina back when someone shoved me hard. Before I could react, I had crossed the safety boundary. A cacophony of noise and reprimands erupted around me. At that moment, a figure ran through the crowd. For a brief instant, I felt a flicker of hope, imagining that Mary was running towards me. But the next second, she rushed unhesitatingly towards Tom, who had also crossed the boundary. I mocked myself internally. George, what are you still hoping for? I wanted to laugh, but I couldn't. All I felt was a heart full of irony. Fortunately, Na rushed over in time, supporting my sprained ankle and slowly leading me out. Just as we emerged from the crowd, Na said, "The confession scene is ready. Let's go take a look." She pulled me to the entrance of the farmhouse. Mary's sisters had adorned the wishing tree at the entrance with heart-shaped fairy lights and hung some mementos of their time together, including handwritten love letters and photos they had taken together. Tom held a bouquet of pink roses, which Mary loved and passionately expressed his love for her. Mary stood frozen, staring at the scene before her. A gentle breeze blew, and although my heart had calmed, it still rippled with emotion. I thought this wind must be witnessing their love. They love each other, and being together is the best ending. Listening to the noise around me, I joined in clapping and shouting, "Say yes! Say yes!" Mary turned to me, her face filled with surprise. "George, are you crazy? I'm your girlfriend." "What? Is she serious?" Na's eyes widened in shock. I remained unusually calm, shook my head, and said, "No, I don't have a girlfriend." Anger immediately flashed across Mary's face as she glared at me at that moment. Tom sensed the awkward atmosphere, a flicker of reluctance in his eyes. He pretended to be weak, saying, "Mary, I just fell and hurt my leg. It really hurts. Can you help me back to the room?" Earlier, in the chaos of the crowd, everyone had stumbled around to avoid the dog, inevitably stepping on each other. I was particularly unlucky. Not only did I fall, but I also got stepped on several times while coming out. Hearing Tom's words, Mary felt both helpless and a bit angry. "You usually hate crowded places. Why did you suddenly want to come here?" Saying this, she linked her arm with Tom's and led him into the farmhouse. As she passed by me, she impatiently said, "You wait here. He'll come find you later." After saying that, she didn't even glance at me again and walked away. I was filled with confusion and asked, "George, why did Mary just say she was your girlfriend? Are you hiding something from me?" The pain in my foot made it hard to concentrate, so I replied vaguely, "She might be confused and just said that. Whoever takes it seriously is the fool." Just like in my past life, I always thought she loved me deeply, only to realize at the end that I was a ridiculous fool. I didn't say anything more and returned to my room. When I crossed the safety boundary earlier, I clearly felt someone push me on purpose. Now that I think about it, it was most likely Tom, but why would he do that? Before I could come up with an answer, Mary showed up. This time, I didn't open the door to let her in. Instead, I blocked the entrance. Mary looked around, saw no one, and whispered, "I need to talk to you. Let's go inside." "No, Mary. If you have something to say, just say it here. If someone sees you going into my room, it will be misunderstood," I replied. Upon hearing this, she immediately abandoned the idea of going in. She looked at me seriously and said, "George, what's wrong with you today? It's one thing for Tom to mess around, but why are you joining in?" How can this be considered messing around? I think it's great. Tom really likes you, I said earnestly. Mary's expression darkened, and a look of inquiry appeared in her eyes. You weren't like this before. Why the sudden change? Was I like before? I asked. Her expression softened a bit, and she smiled proudly, saying, You used to get jealous easily, not allowing any guys around me, always telling me to keep my distance from them. Oh, did you manage to do that? In fact, she never did what I said. It was just seen as unreasonable and immature in her eyes. Upon hearing my words, Mary paused slightly but still softened her tone and said gently, Are you angry because I didn't help you just now? Think about it. Nina was there too. She's your sister, and if something happened to you, she would definitely help. But I was the only one who could help Tom at the scene. If I didn't help him, he might have gotten into trouble, and you wouldn't want to see anyone get hurt, right? She spoke so grandly that if I hadn't seen her rush to Tom without hesitation, I might have believed her. You said her words, I'm not angry. I genuinely think you and Tom are a good match. Stop it. Before she could finish, Na came around the corner with an ice pack. Hey, what are you guys talking about? I shifted my gaze and smiled. Mary is hesitating whether to accept Tom's confession and came to ask for my opinion. Mary's face instantly turned frosty, and the anger in her eyes seemed ready to burst out. She stepped forward, tightly grasped my hand, and gritted her teeth, asking, George, do you know what you're saying? The pain in my wrist made me frown, but I still smiled and said, Of course I know, Mary. Don't you like Tom? I looked straight into her eyes, clearly seeing the conflict flashing beneath. I couldn't help but sneer. Nah, unaware of the tense atmosphere between us, walked over with the ice pack. All right, this is between Mary and Tom. We outsiders shouldn't interfere. George, hurry up and put the ice pack on your foot, or you won't be able to sleep tonight from the pain. With Na present, Mary couldn't explode and could only angrily release my hand, but she had gripped too hard, leaving a noticeable red mark on my wrist. Nina immediately noticed the mark and exclaimed, Wow, you were so rough. Did George offend you? Mary was momentarily stunned and didn't respond. I gently rubbed the red mark on my wrist and shook my head, saying, It's fine. Mary didn't mean it. Let's go back to the room. I knew that continuing to entangle would do me no good. Back in the room, my phone quickly vibrated. It was a message from Mary saying, They'll come find you tonight, and we can have a good talk then. I didn't reply, and just set my phone down. I had a bit of a cold yesterday. My head felt heavy, and with my foot injured, I really had no energy, so I declined dinner and stayed in my room to rest. After dozing off, someone suddenly knocked on the door. When I opened it, it was Tom. He walked in and said to himself, Your sister specifically had the kitchen save dinner for you and asked me to bring it over. My throat was dry and hoarse, and my voice sounded a bit buzzing. You come into my room just to deliver dinner, right? There was no one else here, and Tom no longer pretended. A smug smile couldn't be hidden in his eyes. George, you're not stupid. You should be able to see my relationship with Mary. I was worried she really liked you, but after what happened this afternoon, I'm sure she still loves me and can't let go of me. Sure enough, I guess it was him who pushed me to fall just to test Mary's feelings for him. I was both angry and speechless, wanting to curse him, but my hoarse throat wouldn't let me make a sound. Did Mary tell you she likes me? How could that be? I guessed it. He put down the lunchbox and sat on the nearby sofa beside me. The man she interacts with the most. As you, if there was nothing between you, how could she be so close to you? Is it possible it's because of my sister? Mary is like my second sister. What could we have? In fact, from the very beginning, Mary and I shouldn't have had a relationship. Ship beyond friendship ship. Now, clarifying things, let's go back to the beginning. Tom was half convinced that I really don't like her. I don't like her. After experiencing those things in my past life and seeing her true feelings, my love for her had completely vanished. Okay, since you say so, I believe you. George, you're a good person, smart, and excellent. If it weren't for Mary, I think we could become great friends. After Tom left, his words kept echoing in my mind. The day before I married Mary in my past life, he had also come to see me, showing me all the memories recorded between them. He told me, Mary is marrying you out of obligation. She won't love you. Canceling the wedding won't do you any harm. At that time, I couldn't accept it at all, firmly believing that Mary liked me and thinking that I would find happiness after we got married. But reality dealt me a heavy blow. Perhaps influenced by his words, memories of Mary kept flashing through my mind as I slept, intertwining images from both past and present lives. When I woke up, I was drenched in sweat, feeling sticky and uncomfortable. After a moment, I got up, grabbed my pajamas, and went to the bathroom to wash up. When I returned, I noticed that my phone on the bedside table was still lit up. I picked it up and saw that there were 10 missed calls, all from Mary. I didn't call back, pretending I hadn't seen it, and turned to message my sister. "Nah, sister, I suddenly have something to do tomorrow and want to go home early, so I won't be coming back with you. I had originally planned to stay here for 3 days, but I left after just one. It was still early when I left, and no one knew except Nina. After sitting on the bus for 5 hours and getting home, before I even had a chance to rest, my mom called. I heard you were thinking about dating recently. I've already picked out a girl for you. She's 2 years younger than you, gentle and pretty. Find a time to meet her." Ever since I graduated from college, my mom has been urging me to date, but I've always refused. They all think I don't want to date, not knowing that I've been with Mary for 7 years. "Sure, Mom. You set it up and just let me know when it's done." I agreed so readily that my mom was taken aback. "You're agreeing so quickly? Did something happen?" "What could happen to me?" I found it a bit funny and helplessly said, "Just go ahead and arrange it. I trust your judgment. You're my real mom. You wouldn't harm me, right?" "Of course not. Just wait for my news." After hanging up, I started to handle my work. In my previous life, after getting married, I gave up the opportunity for a promotion to better take care of my family. Despite everyone's objections, I sacrificed everything for love, only to end up being betrayed for a lifetime. This time, I absolutely won't miss the chance for promotion again. To avoid being disturbed while working, I turned my phone off. By the time I finished all my work, it was already 9 o'clock in the evening. It was time to sleep, and I didn't turn my phone back on. After washing up, I went to bed. I didn't expect that the next day, when I finished washing up and was ready to go to work, I would open the door and see Mary waiting outside. She was still wearing the white dress from yesterday, her hair a bit messy, and her eyes were full of fatigue, looking like she had rushed back. "Mary, is there something you need? Why didn't you answer your phone?" Our voices echoed simultaneously. Sensing the questioning tone in her voice, I steadied myself and smiled faintly, saying my phone was off and I didn't notice. "What do you need me for?" My tone was indifferent and casual. "George, can you speak properly? When did we become so estranged?" She didn't understand why I had suddenly changed my attitude and no longer clung to her like before. "Mary, what are you talking about? I've always been like this. Don't call me sister. Didn't you hate that title the most?" She seemed a bit angry, her voice rising. After we got together, I had never called her sister again because I always felt that title created a distance, constantly reminding me of her relationship with Tom. "But you don't like me calling your name either." I continued to smile, but the smile didn't reach my eyes. "You told me not to cling to you anymore, and I did. What are you dissatisfied with now? All right, you also said you would introduce me to a girlfriend better than you. When will that happen?" "George, are you trying to drive me crazy?" Mary's face was filled with anger as she tightly grasped my hand, gritting her teeth and saying, "That was just a joke when I was drunk. How could you take it seriously? And we haven't broken up yet, so don't think about being with another woman." I took it seriously. I forcefully broke free from her grip. "Since you said those words, we have already broken up. If you still don't understand, then let me make it clear now. We are broken up. From now on, we're just ordinary friends." "What ordinary friends? Did you consider my feelings when you said that?" She was emotionally agitated, shouting loudly, her eyes filled with unwillingness. I took a deep breath and said again, "Mary, I regret it. I regret being with you, so I want to break up now. You understand, right?" "I don't agree. Why should it be that you say we break up and we break up just because of the waste of life I had in my past life?" "Mary, when you say that, have you thought about Tom? You can't let him go, and he still loves you. I'm stepping back to let you two be together. What are you still dissatisfied with?" He's already a thing of the past. I can't get back together with him. At this point, her emotions suddenly became very agitated. If you mind him, I want to contact him again. I swear from now on it will only be you by my side. No sooner had she finished speaking than her phone rang. Mary decisively hung up, but a second later the ringtone sounded again, and she rejected it once more. But I saw clearly that the caller ID flashing on the phone screen was Tom. When the third call came in, she still wanted to hang up, and I calmly said, "You might as well answer it. Maybe it's something urgent." She hesitated for a moment after hearing my words, but ultimately answered the call. As soon as she picked up, a cacophony of noise came from the other end, as if there had been a car accident. Mary's face immediately showed a look of tension as she comforted the other person, saying, "It's okay. Don't worry. Give me a few minutes. He'll be there soon." After hanging up, her eyes were filled with worry, and she didn't forget to brush me off. "George, I have something very important to deal with right now. He'll come find you after I'm done. I don't agree to the breakup, so don't bring it up again." After saying that, she left in a hurry without waiting for my response. I didn't take this matter to heart and went out to work. When it was almost time to get off in the afternoon, my mom called. "I've arranged a blind date for you. They'll send you the restaurant and time shortly. You need to pay attention and don't stand the poor guy up." "Got it. Write it down right away," I replied while walking towards the company entrance. As I reached the door, I unexpectedly saw Nina and Mary. I instinctively hung up the phone and walked towards them. "Sister, what brings you here?" "I just finished a collaboration meeting, passed by your company, and thought it was just about lunchtime, so I came to pick you up for lunch. It's also a way to celebrate our successful collaboration." Mary's gaze was fixed on me, so intense that it was hard to ignore. I deliberately avoided her eyes and got into Nina's car. Although Mary looked displeased, she didn't say anything. When we arrived at the restaurant and had just ordered, Nina suddenly seemed to remember something, raised her eyebrows, and smiled as she asked me, "I heard Mom is arranging a blind date for you and has already set a time. Are you really planning to go?" As soon as she said this, Mary's hand holding the cup trembled slightly, and she looked at me in surprise. "What blind date?" I didn't answer her, but looked at Nina and said, "Yeah, it's all arranged. Did you think I was joking with you before?" Mary immediately laughed in anger, as if she had completely lost it, and said loudly, "George, I'm not dead yet. Who allowed you to go on a blind date?" Nina looked puzzled. "What do you mean by that? What does George's blind date have to do with you? He's my boyfriend. Don't you think that has something to do with me?" Mary stared at me intently, hoping I would go along with her words, but I chose to remain silent. Upon hearing this, Nina became a bit angry. "What are you talking about? I've never heard that you two were together. George, is what she said true?" I looked at the two of them, who were about to explode in conflict, and shook my head. "No, Mary and I have no relationship." As soon as I said this, Mary stood up abruptly, her eyes filled with disbelief. "George, you could be mad at me, but you can't say things like that." Nina also couldn't believe it, trying to sort out her thoughts. "Wait, since you said you were with George, then show me the evidence." During this, Mary froze in place. In the 7 years we were together, we didn't have a single photo together because she said she didn't like taking pictures. Once, I secretly took a picture of our shadows, and when she found out, she exploded in anger and insisted I delete the photo. When we went out on dates, she always kept a 2-meter distance from me, afraid of being seen by acquaintances. Even when chatting online, I was always the one to initiate the conversation. She would only respond. After being together for so long, we really hadn't left anything that could prove our relationship. Seeing her stunned and unable to provide evidence, Na silently rolled her eyes. "I know George is handsome, excellent, and very likable, but your delusions are too serious." "Right, Mary? You should go to the hospital for a checkup. This can't go on." Mary was so angry that her eyes turned red, and she retorted loudly, "George is really my boyfriend. We've been together for 7 years. As she spoke, she looked at me with an almost pleading expression. "George, please tell her that what I said is true. You are my boyfriend." But I shook my head again. "Mary, stop talking nonsense, or people will misunderstand." No matter what Mary says, I will not acknowledge our relationship. She can't provide any evidence. Our 7 years of love are only clear to us. In the end, Na increasingly felt that something was off with her and took me away before finishing her meal. On the way back, Na specifically reminded me, "I've noticed that Mary hasn't been acting quite right lately. Keep her distance from her." I nodded in response. After getting home, I burned the sketches of the wedding ring I had designed, leaving no evidence of my time with Mary. Those 7 years of love will be forever sealed in the depths of my memory. Worried that Mary might come looking for me again, I immediately told my mom that I wanted to move back home for a while. Although my mom complained, she still came to help me move. Soon, I was back home. Not long after, I went on a blind date and discovered that the person my mother had introduced to me was a direct junior from my university. Just as my mother had said, she was gentle and beautiful, with bright eyes that concealed her feelings for me. However, I couldn't immediately accept a new relationship. So during the day, I honestly told her that I wasn't ready to let someone into my life so quickly. She didn't push me but smiled and said, "Then I'm willing to wait. To wait until you like me." At that moment, I realized that she had noticed me back in university. I had been so focused on my studies that I hadn't paid any attention to her. From then on, we became good friends who could talk about anything, and neither of us broke that unspoken barrier. Mary still refused to give up and would occasionally wait for me downstairs at my office. Na saw her clinging to me like a stalker and got furious, pulling her aside to give her a good scolding. After that day, Na came back to tell me about it. Fuming as she ate, she said she was all over Tom before, inseparable every day. Now, she says she's been in a relationship with you for 7 years. Isn't that crazy? Luckily, you never really got together with her. Otherwise, it would be so distressing to see your girlfriend being ambiguous with another man. Someone like her, who can't see things clearly, is really only fit to be a friend, definitely not a girlfriend. I nodded in agreement. Yeah, I really don't know what she's thinking. How could I ever be with her? I have completely let go of the past 7 years and am focused on moving forward. Later, the company gave me an opportunity to study abroad, and I accepted it without any hesitation. I only told my junior and my family about this trip. According to the company's arrangements, I soon boarded the plane to go abroad. To my surprise, when I got off the plane, I saw my junior waiting outside the airport. I was both surprised and delighted. "What are you doing here?" "I happen to be on a business trip here and knew your flight was today, so I can't wait for you." In fact, I had only told her that I would be coming to New York today without specifying the exact departure time. "You're quite impressive to have guessed my landing time." At that moment, a man next to us holding a pickup sign interjected, "This young lady has been waiting here since morning. I don't know how many times she has checked the flight schedule." Hearing this, my junior's bare-faced little face flushed with embarrassment. A wave of warmth surged in my heart, and I sincerely said to her, "Thank you. Thank you for making me feel warmth in this unfamiliar country." In the days that followed, the junior kept me company. She took me to many places, patiently introducing me to the local situation, even clearly marking who to contact for various matters. Whenever she had free time, she would rush from home to New York, bringing me hometown delicacies, allowing me to feel the warmth of home even in a foreign land. 6 months later, I confirmed my feelings and confessed to her. Meanwhile, Na also sent me a congratulatory message, casually saying, "Fortunately, you went abroad. The current Mary is really hard to look at. She's not with Tom anymore, but instead has found a few people who resemble you a bit, drowning her sorrows in alcohol. When she gets drunk, she shouts your name. I think she's completely lost it." To this, I didn't respond much. My past with Mary had long become a thing of the past. I would only look forward with determination and would not look back.